That's usually the response when I'm announced. So in regards to learning how to manage and learn how to parent teenagers, I've been through that twice, and I think God bless you. I'd like to start with this reading from our hymnal. It's 560 if you'd like to follow along. It's a short one. People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts and words and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. Dorothy Day. So I think it's fair to say many of us have been appalled and angered and frustrated and has felt feelings of hopelessness in the last so many years, but particularly in the last 100 and so many days. Scary times. Scary times. I had a friend once who said, this was in response to someone asking him how was he doing. How you doing? He goes, I'm doing okay. It's just people and places and things that really get on my nerves. People, places, and things. Oh my. People, places, and things getting on my nerves, making life difficult. To which my other friend said, well, don't forget, it's not the elephants that get you. It's the mosquitoes. I've probably heard that before. And that's what I want to talk about this morning. In other words, try not to let the little things bother you. Because those are the things that end up getting me. I mean, I can kind of keep things in a context and say, okay, I've got some ability to take action here, have some little bit of control in this small amount of area here, and I'll try to deal with that. But then someone cuts me off in traffic. Get a little bit of a facial tick. Or I'm in a hurry and I get in the wrong line. Either trying to turn left or trying to check out at the grocery store. Or I get impatient waiting for my food. What's going on with these people? Don't they understand? Little things can get under my skin. And those are the things that we should be able to let go of the easiest. Because I've kind of let go of some of the big stuff. And these little things are getting on my nerves. Anybody been to the motor vehicle department lately? Anybody stand in line to get your real ID card? Little bitty things get on my nerves. I think it happens to most of us, right? It's not just me, I hope. Little bitty things. I've been told I'm supposed to try to keep my house neat. I used to be in the pet sitting business. I know how we live, okay? It's not like you see on TV, right? There's a element to this thing of, it's not the elephants, it's the mosquitoes that get us. It's the little bitty things. And then there's this other flip side of it, which is, well, you know what? If we just let go of some of these things, it won't bother us. Like Irma Bombeck, do you remember her? That humor writer? She said, no one ever died from an unmade bed. I take that to heart, okay? No one is going to die in my house anytime soon from an unmade bed. There's a flip side to this, though. Okay? Don't let the small things bother you. However, taking care of the little things make a difference. If you sew up the hole in the screen, the mosquitoes can't bother you. Don't have to replace the whole thing, just fix the screen. I think about things that can make a difference in my life, in our lives. Little things that can make a difference. Did you sleep well last night? If you sleep well, you're going to have more energy today. For me, if I get a good night's sleep, I tend to be a little more patient. Somebody cuts me off in traffic, oh, they're in a hurry. If I eat well, I feel better, I have more stamina. So if I can get a good night's sleep and eat healthy food, and this is coming from the person who brought donuts, but if I can eat healthy food on a fairly regular basis, I feel better.
Hey, donuts may not be good for your body, but they're good for your soul.
All of this is a spiritual conversation, isn't it? Thank you. Absolutely. Bread of heaven. So, one of the other things that feels like a big deal these days, but when I do it, it feels a lot better, is just to quit looking at the news feed on my phone. My day starts differently if I pick up my phone and say, okay, what now? As opposed to just being quiet and getting up and starting my day that way. If I turn off the news, I'm not so angry most of the time. It's so easy for me. I used to kind of laugh about people who wanted to throw a brick through the television. But you kind of get that sense these days that a lot of us feel, at least half of us feel that way. I think the other half feels that way too. But little things that I can do around my house. Plant some flowers or tomatoes. Anybody? I know there are peppers growing everywhere in this community right now. But does anybody have any tomatoes or squash or peppers? And yeah, flowers, dirt therapy is so helpful to me in these days. Can read a new book. I don't know about you, maybe it's my age, But I'm finding that the more time I've spent on my phone, the harder it is to read a book. Is anybody else experiencing that? Okay, I mean, the focus time, the endurance, the stamina required. So I'm becoming very aware of that and realizing that I need to be exercising my brain a little bit by reading books. Books that can inform me, teach me. Seems like a little thing. Gosh, read a book, change your life. Pretty simple. How about write in a journal? Keep up with your thoughts. Explore spirituality through meditation and prayer. These are all simple things that begin to shift me a little bit into making life feel a little more manageable. So get some rest. Eat healthy food. Turn off the news. Plant some flowers. Read a book. Write in a journal. Pray and meditate. Sounds kind of like a John Prine song. Do you remember that one? Blow up your TV, throw away your papers, move into the country, build a home, plant a little garden, eat a lot of peaches, try to find Jesus on your own. He had such an elegant way of capturing things. So if I am taking care of these small things in my life day to day, I can then imagine taking them out into the community. Richard Rohr, in his book, The Second Half of Life Spirituality, talks about that very thing. That when we're in the beginning of our lives, and our lives can shift with this consciousness shift, in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, or 50s. The second half of life spirituality is not a chronological thing by age. It just happens that it usually takes some experience before you have that aha moment. But when we shift from that first container of how we are and define ourselves by other people's expectations and define ourselves by what other people's success looks like and what I think other people are expecting of me, when I shift from that, I learn that the real key to happiness in life is not me, but we. How do I bring small things into the community and make a difference? In another life, I was a traveling salesperson selling lawnmowers all over South Louisiana. My boss at the time said, you need to listen to these tapes to be a good salesperson. And he gave me these tapes by a guy named Zig Ziglar. Have you ever heard of him? Pretty interesting cat. I mean, pretty interesting ideas he has. And he tells a story about a guy whose boss just really gets all in his face and he's critical and scolds him, and the guy goes home. He's all upset that his boss treated him that way, and he goes home to dinner and he's really critical of his wife and is very impatient, short-tempered with her and unkind to her just because. And the wife doesn't know what hit her. He's not sure why her husband came home acting that way. So without realizing it, she's short-tempered with her oldest son and kind of criticizes him for not doing his homework and not doing his chores, and it goes on, and the older brother finally goes into the room and looks at his little brother and picks on him and says unkind things to him, and the little brother, the youngest in the whole family, the youngest person in this whole chain, walks outside and kicks the cat. And Zig Ziglar talks about it being a cat-kicking world. The reverse of that holds true, doesn't it? If the boss at work said, hey, you're really doing a good job. I saw that you kind of didn't get this done. You'll work that out. But by and large, I'm really glad you work here. You're doing a great job. How do you think he goes home to his wife when she may not make the meal the way he wanted it? Is he going to be a little more tolerant? Of course, because he's in a better headspace. And he's done something kind. He's brought his wife something home. I don't know. But then his wife is then kind to the oldest son. He is kind to his younger brother. And the cat gets free ride for that evening. It's an interesting thing to think about, how these things, I have heard it said in cruder terms than that stuff rolls downhill. Good and bad. Helping others is a small thing that has a huge ripple effect. Now, I just want to ask you, and you can throw out some things, but what are little things that you've done recently just in the community that have helped other people? And I'm talking about something as simple as asking the person behind the counter at the convenience store how their day's going. But I'd like to hear from you. Shout it out. Not too loud, but
Help my neighbor trim the hedge.
okay, help my neighbor trim the hedge.
I was talking to a lady at a doctor's office. Smoking strong boys, and I could tell she had surgery. A little bit. The boys tremendously reminded me of
Oh, how nice. Oh, absolutely.
it was a little thing, but
That's
it
great.
made me feel better about myself, and it made folks feel better about me.
Absolutely. What a kindness. Somebody else. Yes, Cal.
Constantly. And that, I ran up and I said, someone check on me? And so I got that. Very helpful. Then she gets a call. And she says, "Look, this is the home social security. My father." He's just being more precise.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, allow for. Instead of me being impatient for my food at the restaurant, imagine a paradigm shift where that lady's really struggling or that guy's really struggling. And I can do something to mitigate the stress they're feeling in that moment. Somebody else. Oh, nice. Yeah. Simple. It's amazing what a little apple pie and a red cardboard box can do for us, right?
To say thank you for any time you've done anything for me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the dangers of our current situation, our culture, is many things have been dehumanized. I mean, I think technology has done that to some extent. You know, mechanization of things. But I think there's almost this sense of, are you with me or against me? And I've said this in here before. Unfortunately, in our culture these days, it seems like the dialogue, the conversation has gone from, oh, Bill and I disagree. It's morphed from that to Bill's wrong and I'm right. And from there to Bill's bad and I'm good. And that's a dangerous place. And I see that there's opportunities for us to kind of break that down a little bit just by our humanity. Helping others has a ripple effect. I'm just going to, before I go on, one thing that has happened to me on occasion, and I have actually done the same thing, is to send a postcard to somebody. Have you done that lately? It's so easy to send an email or a text. There is something spiritual about writing a short note or a postcard, addressing it, putting the stamp on it, and sending it out, and knowing that there's a person at the other end that's going to receive that and really appreciate it. But likewise, when I've gotten them myself, how nice it is to receive just a quick handwritten card from somebody. Simple thing to do. Believe me, this day and age, receiving something written from someone is pretty extraordinary. Anyway, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Just what Aesop said. Must be true. So those are things, small things I do for myself to make my life better. But once my life is better, I can bring that into the community and make my little difference with an apple pie, or a postcard, or a kind word, or a thank you, or a compliment. How easy is that, and how often do we do it? I imagine that we do a fairly good job of this. Okay? I also imagine we could probably do a little bit better job at it, just being conscious of it. Okay? And here's the third thing. Remembering that tiny drops is what creates the ocean, tiny drops of water. How do we take that from here out to there? I know I heard in our announcements that there are some things that we plan to do in the month of June. Okay? What do we do as a group? We're providing an opportunity for people to practice their choir, having their choir practices here. I know that we are here. We rent the space out for people to come in for 12-step meetings. What are we doing collectively in a small way? Because the reality is, if I start here and I'm taking care of myself in little ways, then I can bring that out into the community individually in my small ways. But then we are fortunate enough to have a group of like-minded people with similar values. And we can do so many things together. And I know that the board works very hard on trying to figure out ways for us to plug in and make a difference. There's a great African quote that basically says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. There are two stories back to back in the Bible about the power of small things. The first one is the mustard seed. Okay? The kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. It's a plant, it's the smallest seed there is. You throw it out there and it grows into kind of a large shrub bush that's pretty significant in size. And the way it's told in the Bible, it's a place where birds can rest and build their homes from a tiny seed. If we have faith in the fact that our little ways of making a difference do ultimately make a difference, they cause a ripple, then we can be like that little seed. There's another one right next to it that talks about leavening bread and how just a little bit, like sourdough bread, put a little starter in there with the other flour and look what happens. A little bit of yeast and flour and water and look what happens from that. And that's where we are right now, I think. Little things. I have a tendency to go, I think I'm too old to run for office. I'm too old to be president. I think that ship sailed. You know what I'm saying? We tend to think, okay, I don't want to say we, I. Okay. It's like, how am I going to fix this big thing? I've got to be a big thing. And that never happens. If I let go of that thought and do little things, begins to make a difference. I'm going to conclude by reading the chalice lighting we had this morning. It's so apropos. What if sometimes it's not about a light in the darkness? What if sometimes it's about sparking potential into possibility and possibility into existence? What if sometimes the flame that burns in the chalice of our faith is nothing less than the ember of hope and nothing more than love set ablaze? What if sometimes all we need do is follow this flame? One among scores, hundreds, thousands of steadily flickering flames across the land, and among so many peoples on the way to justice and into the land of peace. What if we dare to kindle that chalice? What if we dare to kindle that flame inside of us that helps us do little things that are caring for ourselves, that allows the flame to get a little bit larger that we can take out into the community, that allows us together to carry this out and become a much brighter light in the world?